Hello and welcome to the dungeon. In today's video we've been playing a lot of the Horus Heresy Legions. As you can see before you, this is an online card game. As far as I'm aware there is no real world counterpart, which is fine by me. A lot of different companies are experimenting with just online only card games. Not least of all, Elder Scrolls Legends. And if you followed some of my content before, you know I quite like Elder Scrolls Legends. So how does Horus Heresy Legions compare? Well, before we get into that, I think it's worth mentioning what exactly the setting of Horus Heresy Legions is. You may be forgiven for thinking this is a Warhammer 40k game based on all the Space Marines and demons and whatnot on screen. You would be half right, but not quite. You see, the lore of Warhammer 40,000 is very extensive and goes back a long way. It's called Warhammer 40,000 because it is the 41st millennium, and a lot of the previous millenniums are also covered, in particular the 31st millennium, which is the background of the aforementioned Horus Heresy. If you think of Lord of the Rings, then 40k is Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion is the Horus Heresy. It's very important stuff that happened before, and it's essential for this game in terms of knowing the storyline and who's who. If you don't particularly care about that, then that's absolutely fine. You can still play and enjoy this game. I mean, it is a card game about defeating your opponent after all, so knowing about the lore isn't that necessary. However, I am about to give you a very brief breakdown of how the lore goes. So, in the distant future, there is a dude called the Emperor. He's a very powerful dude. He is good at psychic powers and all kinds of stuff. Very big cheese. Now this dude, he takes control of Earth. He has an alliance with Mars. Again, very extensive lore, and I do think it's a good idea if you're interested to look into who controls Mars and whatnot. Anyway, he decides the rest of the galaxy really should belong to mankind, so he sets out on a great massive crusade. Before that though, he needs some help to do it, so he thinks, you know what, I need some sons. I need 20 sons in fact, and he creates them. But lo and behold, some things kind of go awry, and all his children, his sons, there's no girls I'm afraid, they all get scattered off into the winds to various different planets all across the galaxy. So what does he do? He has some Space Marines / Thunder Warriors, and he starts collecting his sons and building his legions. I say 20, 2 we don't know about them, but there's 18 confirmed, which is 18 out of 20, not bad. Anyway, so his 18 sons, and they all have their armies, and they're all across the galaxy conquering worlds for the glory of the Empire of Man. Then the Emperor decides he wants to go back to Earth, which is called Terra, which is the old-fashioned way of saying Earth, and, you know, have some more alone time and look at his own experiments. And he leaves the control of his campaign to one of his sons called Horus. So at this point, we have 18 legions of super-powered human beings called Space Marines, Adeptus Astartes, alongside countless billions of regular human beings, as well as the Adeptus Mechanicus, who are all cybernetic and have their giant war machines called Titans, and various other forces. The galaxy is teeming with other humans because humans have gone out before and then lost contact with each other and regained contact, and they are heretics and need to be purged or brought into compliance, as well as various aliens and other nefarious things. Anyway, so Horus is leading his campaign, and he decides to have some daddy issues. There might be some external influences with it as well, but nevertheless, he decides he's going to rebel against his father, epically, and he recruits more of his brothers to join him, and then we have a massive civil war, and I mean massive, which encompasses various systems. I mean, basically the galaxy is the entire template of this civil war, which is the Horus Heresy. I apologize for the info dump, but it is a series that I've read quite a lot of. Each small part of the Heresy is covered by its own novel, and there's like 30 of them. I think it might be over now. There is a lot of lore. I do highly recommend it if you like your space opera, spaceships shooting spaceships type action. How much that lore has to do with this particular card game though, well, I mean, it's there, but story is not what this game does at all. Don't get me wrong, when you start the game there is a tutorial where you'll be introduced to one of the characters, Loken, and how to play the game. You have maybe 5 or 6 actual single player missions, and then you're off for multiplayer. Each mission has its own little dialogue between you and a different character, and a lot of that is quite authentic to what happened in the novel series. But once that's over, once Isstvan 3 is done with, then there is no more single player content. That, I think, considering how narrative the storyline is a big shame. I think one of the things this game should have had right from the get-go is a strong single player campaign. The tutorial is nice, but it's not enough, nowhere near enough. Alright then, that's enough about the setting, let's talk gameplay. So one of the big changes compared to this game and say to Elder Scrolls Legends or Magic the Gathering Arena or anything like that is that you, yourself I mean, are not in the game so much. You actually have a separate warlord you choose and have their own special abilities. This warlord will have a huge amount of health, say about 30 to 40. Once the warlord goes down to 0 health, they're gone from the game. So you are represented in the warlord you choose in its own separate card, and you can be affected by other abilities, such as being stunned, like any other card. So the warlord is your main person you want to keep alive. Alongside the warlord, which are generally men, you have various troops you send to battle as well, and these can range from infantry, adepts astartes, custodes, which are the Emperor's bodyguards, demons, machines, vehicles, lots of things like that. And just like any other card game, it's all about trying to whittle your opponent's health down to 0 and winning that way. You can also recruit buildings as well into your force, which generally don't attack but provide other abilities that are quite useful, and tactics are things like aerial bombardments or resupplying, which is drawing more cards. Like in most games, you draw 1 card per start of turn, and you have to pay for it via the energy cost, which goes up every turn to a maximum of 10. So far, apart from the whole warlord thing, so standard. So with regards to the warlord, I do like this introduction because the Horus Heresy has a lot of epic characters smacking the shit out of each other. So having yourself represented as one such character is awesome. But in terms of factions, once you have chosen your warlord, you are limited to the warlord's faction, and there are a lot. There are 18 legions in total. As I said, 2 went slightly wrong, and although not all of them are ready now in this game, I'm sure they will be eventually. Then you have things like the Imperial Army, and the Mechanicus, and various Chaos factions, then the Custodes, and there might even be more in the future, so about 21 in total, at least confirmed. That's a lot of different decks. I mean, think of, say, Magic the Gathering, which gives you 5 colours, and you can mix the two or three together to form combined decks, but still 21 decks. Now, bearing in mind the Mechanicus, Imperial Army and the Chaos are neutral decks and can be combined with other ones, it's still a lot of unique decks out there. So choosing your warlord means you have to choose mainly your legion / army, whatever, and going on from there. This equals a lot of interesting power play as you try and see which legion basically smacks face compared to other ones. Now, because this is a game where balancing is key, there are a lot of instances where some legions are just better than others. For the longest time, the most recent legion was the 1000 Suns. They were psychers in their own right and could generate psychic powers. For the longest time, these guys, these bastards, were broken. Their psychic powers were just ridiculous. They'd often come back to their own hands and they can be used again. It was horrific. Over time they got nerfed, so now they're not so bad. Other legions which are particularly annoying are, well, my favourite legion in fact, the salamanders. I do love the guys in green. So these guys have a special rule called Survivor. It's not special to them, but they make the most of it. Basically, Survivor has a number next to the unit, so say 5. When that unit is killed, they come back with 5 additional health, which is great. So basically, your units, those which have Survivor, which is a lot of them, take a lot of punishment for going down. That is very thematic, but a pain in the ass to play against. As they are my favourite, of course I wanted to play as them, and as I was playing through my ranks and getting victory after victory, I was thinking, you know what, this is kind of cheap. Oh well. But that brings me to the greatest strength of this game. The fact is that every army has its own playing style, and this very much represents how the legions are in the lore. Take the World Eaters. They are very angry. Once they get hit by a damage or something like that, if they're still alive, a lot of them will get stronger. Take the Death Guard. If you get hit by a Death Guard, even if you survive, if they have the poison ability, that unit will die at the end of your next turn, regardless. Take the Raven Guard, probably my second favourite, at least loyalist legion. They are very stealthy. When you send some of their units in with stealth, those units can't be targeted by attacks until they have attacks, so they can be staying there from the entirety of the game, just doing what they're doing before, BAM, they come out to strike. Now, I could go through each and every single one of them, and that would be fine, but I think a lot of the joy is finding out exactly how each deck plays. The very last thing I'll mention with regards to the deck's abilities are the Alpha Legion. Man, these are annoying little shits and a half. What they do is they generate traps and secret orders. They mess with their opponent's deck. They're very fun to play with and very irritating to play against. So you could be putting traps into your opponent's deck. So once that card is drawn, that trap can say stun all enemies, i.e. your own forces, or do some amount of damage to the warlord, or that kind of thing. And if you play Secret Order against one of your enemy's troops, that order, if activated, could mean attacking a friendly troop, or attacking the warlord, or all kinds of fun stuff like that. The fact is, it's all hidden, and your opponent has no idea what's coming up for them. So, great lore, great gameplay for the most part. It sounds like Dan likes this game. What's the problem? Oh, let me tell you the problems. Let's start with the game-breaking bugs, where sometimes I don't get my rewards. As you can see before you, nothing's happening. I'm clicking on the box I need, it's not opening, I'm going back, I'm trying again, yada yada yada. Long story short, I miss my rewards. In a game which is free, I should have mentioned earlier that this is a free-to-play game, your rewards are key, because that's how you get better. It's not often this has happened, where I literally can open boxes, but it's not the first time either. Another annoying thing is, it has once every 6 hours you get a new box full of little minor stuff. If you're playing the game and the 6 hours goes over, then you can't open the box. You have to come out the game, as in switch it off, and go back in again to open the box. It's weird. So buggy stuff like that needs to be looked at, but the most irritating thing about this game is the fact that you cannot buy the cards you want whenever you want. You have to wait until they come up in rotation. And considering that you've got a bunch of units from boxes for a legion where you don't have a warlord, and you have to wait for a warlord, any warlord to come up, is a massive slap in the face. For the longest time I wanted a Space Wolf warlord, and I had plenty of units, I had them all there waiting for me, but I didn't have a Space Wolf warlord to use, so I had to save my little crystals, I had to decline buying other stuff I might have wanted, and every day is a new selection of cards to buy, until finally I got one, and I just had to buy the cheapest one, because they range from 100 to 400 crystals to 1600, so big expensive things. And you can get crystals from all kinds of things, so various victories, getting duplicates of the same card, that kind of thing. But at a certain point it becomes quite difficult to get more crystals per day, so you have to wait until the next day. I don't mind the randomness in the various boxes you open to get new cards and money and stuff. That's to be expected in a free-to-play card game like this. But I do mind the fact that I can't buy my own cards. I have to wait for them to become available. That is such bullshit. Elder Scrolls Legends, for example, lets you see all the unknown cards you want. It shows how much they cost, so you can work towards it and get it whenever you reach the requirement. If you can't access the game for a day, and the card you want happens to be on that day, you have to wait until the next time that card comes up. Every day normally has a different legion or two which is available, so you may not have to wait too long, but some great cards will only appear once every few weeks or so. And if you have, say, 2 warlords of one legion, and those 2 warlords come up again, and you're missing the one that you really want, say Vulcan, well, too bad. You have to wait. Start saving those crystals again until you have, say, 400 or 1600, and maybe next time. Now you could randomly get the card you want in one of the boxes, as I've said before, and you get these for, say, winning 5 games online or doing a campaign, which is basically like 2 to 3 legions fighting each other, and you choose a warlord of that legion, you choose a constructed deck, and you duke it out. A lot of games do this type of format, although this one you need 12 straight victories to get the best type of loot box, which I think is a little excessive. 12 is a lot to ask for in a constructed deck. So about the boxes that you purchase to get more cards. There are, at the time of making this video, 4 different campaign boxes. There's one which has the initial Eastvan 3 legions, the Death Guard, the Emperor's Children, and the World Eaters. Then there's the Eastvan 5 legions, which are the Raven Guard, Salamanders, and Iron Hands, the loyalist ones, of course. Then there is the Betrayal boxes, which have the 3 legions of the Night Lords, Alpha Legion, and Iron Warriors. But Dan, I know my Horus Heresy lore. Weren't the Word Bearers also at Eastvan 5? Yes. Yes they were. Where's my damn Word Bearers? I made a video based on the Word Bearers and how they should be played in 40k, although that was a long time ago now and I'm sure most of that is out of date. I do like the Word Bearers, they're probably my favourite Chaos faction, so where's Lorgar and his cheerleading squads? I think they'll probably turn up later when they fight those dastardly Ultramarines, so I'm holding out until then. Anyway. And the final boxes you can get include the Custodes, Space Wolves, and the 1000 Suns. So basically it gives you some kind of generic choice as to what legions you want depending on what type of box you purchase for 100 gold. Or you can pay 200 gold, and if you're lucky in the rotation, you can get the Space Wolf box or the Iron Hands box, which will give you 5 cards. All the boxes, by the way, give you like 2 to 3 cards depending on what kind of quality of box you get. And the Space Wolf box will guarantee 3 of those cards are Space Wolves, and the rest are something else, I imagine. Doesn't sound too much of a good offer in my opinion, but hey. Now the other things that you can find in these boxes include things like different chat options, but this is all random for your warlord. Every warlord has 6 different chat options, which is a nice feature. It's not a unique feature since these games often have these, such as Hearthstone, but it's nice that each warlord has its own distinct sound and different kind of taunts they can do. What's not great is that each warlord only starts off with 3, and you have to randomly find the other 3 as you play the game. Yeah, when they start monetizing taunts, that's when it's getting a little excessive in my opinion. Okay, so how about the presentation of this game? That is meh. So a lot of the artwork for these cards is taken directly from pre-existing artwork I've seen before on various book covers or in art books. And I don't know about you, but I just find them a little bland. And you really have to know your iconography of the legions to know, oh, that's a Raven Guard, oh, that's an Iron Hand, oh, that's a Lunar Wolf. I do appreciate the fact that they're only working with generally a human civil war. When all the people you see are just human, they kind of look all the same, particularly when they're wearing helmets. They can include Xenos in this game. The Eldar have been in various human situations throughout the Horus Heresy. They provide a key aspect of the entire lore. I don't want to give any spoilers, that's why I'm being a bit coy. The Orcs are also quite integral to the stuff before the Horus Heresy, as it is the destruction of the Orcs which leads to a lot of celebrations. So having them as a neutral Xenos deck would, I think, be quite fitting, and there are other ones. Plenty of other Xenos races exist in this universe, so why not have more of them included? You could even do the Necrons, since they've been sleeping in their tomb worlds for millions of eons. I'm sure they'd like to wake up and take part in the fun. So better card art would be nice. Even just shiny ones. I mean, shinies are standard now in card games, but not in here. It would just look nicer. And which genius thought it was a good idea for the background to have 3/4 of the screen taken up by this metal floor? Look at that. You can see this metal floor just taking place going on, and behind that is something else, something a lot cooler. Again, it's painting and a little bland, but at least it's something. Can we have more of that background and less of a floor, please? Thank you. There is also a very limited soundtrack, which is mainly based on war drums you can hear in the background. Audio isn't this game's strong point. Although I will say it is kind of cool when a lot of the Space Marines give their lines, and you can kind of hear they're muffled because of them wearing a helmet, so that is good audio attention to detail. But on the whole, nothing at all to write home here. Again, maybe I'm expecting too much from my free-to-play card game, but, well, other games do this better, so up your game. Other little details in this game include the fact that it does have bots in it as well, so if you go into an online queue and you're waiting for ages, eventually you will get the game if it's against a bot. Now some of these have kind of funny names which I do appreciate, such as the Emperor's Niece and Late Night Lord. That's a good one. So if you want to make an argument there is some single player content in this game, then there it is, but you have to play online, so yeah. Now I was able to play on both PC and mobile, and it's very easy to link the two things together, so I'm about to say +2. But I can kind of tell this game was designed primarily for mobile. If nothing else, that stupid purple hand you have on the screen as well. That doesn't seem like a very PC thing to do in 2019. Oh, challenges! I forgot to mention challenges, and use another random pain in the ass as well. So another way to get more boxes and more cards are doing certain challenges, and you have 3 tiers of these, so the better you do, the better tier of boxes you'll get. The thing is, a lot of these challenges, not all, a lot are bullshit. So the better ones include things like play as many troops as you can, period. So if you play 20 troops out of say 4 or 5 games, you get a tiered box. Another one though might be play 10 troops in 1 game. So you have to play 10 troops in 1 game. That's doable, by the way. That's not an example of a terrible thing. What is an example of a terrible thing is win the game with your warlord not doing anything. Like what? Your warlord is quite possibly your most important guy in the fight, and you want me to not use him at all? That seems... and win. And that's the important thing, win. The only way, generally speaking, this would happen is either A, you're really shit hot with your unit cards, or B, the enemy just surrenders straight away, which is fine. Other things include, say, winning in a lowest number of turns, ending the game with as minimum health on your warlord as possible. That's an annoying one. Or using so many unit abilities in 1 game, because units can also have their own abilities. Playing 20 tactics in 1 game. If you're the kind of person who doesn't really like to play tactics because you prefer the units going out and fighting, then playing 20 tactics is definitely not your playstyle. Oh, and using extremely expensive cards in your deck. Now your deck only has 30 cards, no more, no less, which is very limiting, with 2 copies maximum per card. Again, that seems bleh. So here it is, let's conclude this video on Horus Heresy Legions. There is a lot I do like about this game, which makes it more frustrating, the fact that I don't like a large part of it. We obviously have a lot of plans for this game, a lot of other legions to include, for example the Ultramarines, the Wordbearers, thank you. Blood Angels will be a good one, I'm sure, so it does have potential in that respect, and they are good at making sure nothing is too unbalanced and they will nerf where necessary. But the card rotation mechanic is just a killer for me. It's hard to get excited when you can't really save up for what you want, or at least you have to check it every day. And I know why they're doing it, of course they are. Of course there are ways where you can buy more things for real money. I get that, it's a free-to-play game, they have to make money somehow. It just seems so unfair. For me, Horus Heresy Legions gets free Fabius Bile Orgasmic Attacks. Out of 5. I'll continue to play it because I want to get more cards and I do like the main gameplay, although with the visuals it can get very tiring after a while. But this could have been so much better. Anyway, that's all for me. Thank you for watching and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.